I do think that all sides agree that Trump's hand in this has made a difference.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. So in an incredible turn of events, the Israel-Hamas ceasefire live updates. Israel cabinet now set to vote, laying groundwork for hostage release, although there's some issues coming up now, some delays happening, but this is just how this stuff works. Israel delayed the vote, claiming that Hamas was creating last-minute crisis without providing details. Hamas denies the claim. Now, this was major news because Trump was actually the one that announced that we have a deal for the hostages in the Middle East. They will be released shortly. Thank you. Very Trump fashion there. What's amazing is that now you're seeing the Biden administration and Kamala Harris trying to take credit for this hostage deal, for this ceasefire. And, this is what the Biden administration has done since day one. They try to take all the credit for what Trump did in his administration and then blame Trump for everything that they've done in their administration that's been horrible for America, which is essentially everything. But you're going to see here, this is Biden's farewell address to the nation. This was just yesterday. 5 days before he leaves office, he does his farewell address, and this is how he starts his farewell address. You can see the timestamp down here. Hey, real quick, would you consider hitting that thumbs up button? When you like this video, you're not agreeing with the insanity. You're helping push this video out to more people to help spread the truth.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. Before I begin, let me speak to important news from earlier today. After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, by my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas, the elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration.
Of course.
That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed, because that's how it should be.
Of course.
Working together as Americans.
Of course.
This will be my final address to you from the American people from the Oval Office.
So this is his final address from the Oval Office, and like clockwork, it starts with an absolute lie. There is no shame in these people. They talk about how much they love America and they want to safeguard the American values. And they get up and they lie straight to your face constantly because these people do not love this country. They do not care about you. In fact, you see, Commie Law posts this on Instagram. She tries to take credit again for this deal. That's been months and months and months and months and months in the making, right? And then finally, 5 days before this administration is over, a deal finally gets reached, with Trump announcing it first. She said, thanks to the leadership of President Joe Biden, a ceasefire and hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. They are literally trying to take credit for something that they were not able to get done themselves because they are weak, insufficient leaders, and they knew, Hamas knew, our enemies know that they don't have to listen to this administration. They don't have to listen to Biden or Kamala or anybody in this administration. They know they're weak and feeble and have zero ability to actually lead with strength or force. And that's why 5 days before this administration was over, a deal was finally reached because Trump got up as a strong leader. And, we saw this in his first administration as well, where the world saw that America now had a strong leader in office. And they noticed, and they listened, and they went, uh-oh, we can't do our usual shenanigans because the left and the Democrats and these weak liberals love to allow the world to walk all over the U.S. They love to allow the world to get away with whatever they want as long as it fills their pockets. And in the Trump administration, you saw that there were no wars, that the world noticed there was strong leadership in America again. And what have we seen over the last 4 years? Some of the weakest leadership we have ever seen in our nation's history. Maybe even weaker than Jimmy Carter. And we're starting to see what happens again before Trump even takes office, that a strong leader in America, a strong president, means the world straightens up.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is.
In typical Trump fashion, he just says, this is what's going to happen. And he ends it with, I don't have to say anything else. You know what I mean when I say this. And the world goes, uh-oh.
We want to get back those hostages for Israel and for us. You know, we do have people that are hostages being held. And I'll just say it again. If this deal's not done with the people representing our nation, by the time I get to office, all hell is going to break out. Thank you very much.
Hamas knows what that means, and it even scares them. You know, this reminds me of a time in history back in 1981 when the Iran hostage crisis ended, the day that Ronald Reagan took office, because, again, a weak Jimmy Carter administration could not get a deal done. Because they allowed the world to walk all over them. The world did not take Jimmy Carter serious. He was an extremely weak president, one of the weakest that we've had. And the world saw that, noticed that, took advantage of that. And Reagan, in the same type of fashion, came into office, guns a-blazing. And he said that you do not want to deal with the repercussions. If you do not release those hostages, the day I take office, you will suffer the consequences. And they knew that he meant business. And what happened? The day Ronald Reagan took office, they released the hostages. 52 U.S. captives held in Iran were released after 444 days. In fact, look at this. Arab officials have credited Donald Trump's envoy with the ceasefire hostage releases. Arab officials involved credit Trump and Trump Representative Steve Witkoff for securing a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza, not Joe Biden. The breakthrough came after Witkoff's intense meeting with Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where he managed to persuade the Prime Minister in ways that the Biden administration could not. According to reports from the Times of Israel, this meeting was pivotal, with Witkoff's aggressive negotiation tactics proving more effective than months of discussions under the Biden administration. Gee, I wonder why. You know, the Biden administration's been funding these wars all over the world, their entire administration. And now you're seeing what happens when, again, a strong leader is about to take office who hopefully, again, like the first administration, will not allow these wars to take place anymore. But man, the warmongers in Washington hate that. You know, that's one of the biggest, number one reasons why the elites in Washington, in our government, hate Trump so much, because he doesn't allow these wars to happen. And without these wars, their pockets don't get filled. And so, well, that's why they've made Trump basically the number one enemy of the U.S., Hitler 2.0, because he doesn't allow wars, and because wars make us rich. In fact, I want you to listen to the mainstream media. These are the lackeys for the Biden administration. I want you to listen to what even they have to say about this ceasefire and hostage deal, what they have to say about the Biden administration's involvement and Trump's involvement. Listen, this is the mainstream media, one of the biggest enemies to America. And even they admit who was truly responsible for this deal.
That's what's been so, frankly, impressive because it's so unusual to see them working side by side. One team representing the U.S. is the phrase they're using. Donald Trump doesn't want this on his plate. He doesn't want this on his inbox. This has been just such a horrifically bloody and brutal war in the Middle East that has reverberated throughout. He wants to see this through, and that has been really useful, the negotiators tell me, at the table, because the parties in the region do fear that while they can say no to Joe Biden, they know Donald Trump wants it, and that there could be consequences.
This is CBS admitting that, yeah, the world can say no to Biden. They can't say no to Trump. Once again, ABC. Listen to what Martha Raddatz had to say. This is with the one of the ladies from The View as well. Listen to this.
Well, Martha, the Biden negotiating team has been working on this deal for over a year, and it's remained elusive. Now, since Trump's victory, his negotiating team has been working hand in glove with Joe Biden's, which is pretty remarkable considering the political climate. Biden shrugged off a question yesterday about Trump being responsible for this deal as a joke, but Trump has certainly taken a stronger posture against Hamas. How much credit do you think the incoming president deserves for this deal?
Well, there are certainly hostage families on the street in Tel Aviv who say it is Donald Trump who helped get this over the line. But you heard President-elect Trump say there would be hell to pay if the hostages were not released, if there was not a ceasefire agreement before he took office. And that seems to have resonated over there.
This is Scott Jennings. He said, bottom line, without Trump winning and being absolutely clear in his hell-to-pay rhetoric, there would be no hostage deal today between Israel and Hamas. Thank God we are getting our people back. Elections have consequences. They absolutely do. You know, if Kamala Harris would have won this election, none of this would have been happening. This war would have continued to go on because it makes them rich. Because Kamala is a warmonger, along with all the other elites within this administration. And the warmongers are on both sides, by the way. Don't get that wrong. But Scott Jennings is one of the few Republicans in mainstream media that has a prominent voice. He's on CNN. CNN actually hired him to be a Republican voice. And I think he does a smashing job at CNN of speaking truth and not giving in and not bowing down to the insane woke left.
I do think that all sides agree that Trump's hand in this has made a difference, one way or another.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with Trump. He's been perfectly clear. He has not vacillated about his message that if they don't send our people back, there's going to be hell to pay. And thank God he has been on that message and he has not wavered from it. He's not stepped back from it. And I don't really care, candidly, who the president is when all this happens. I just want him back. I mean, I've worn this yellow ribbon out here every night for over a year because I think there's so many families who are just devastated. They're hurting. They don't know what the situation is. And we need this to come to an end. There are Americans involved here.
Straight up, even a liberal host on CNN admits, this woman here, she says that I think everybody knows the truth here. That, yeah, Trump's involvement is what made this happen. So don't let Biden's farewell address or Commie Law's statement that it was because of Joe Biden and the Biden administration that this deal was a deal was reached. It's lies. Again, all these people have done is lied to you for the last 4 years. And that is over now. Do not believe them. They are done. However, even with just a few days left, let's not forget that we are called to pray for our leaders. That means praying for Biden and Kamala and the Biden administration for the last few days left here, and then praying for Trump and the administration coming in. Look at what 1 Timothy chapter 2 says here. First of all, then, I exhort that petitions and prayers, requests, and thanksgivings be made for all men, for kings, and all who are in authority, so that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life in all godliness and dignity. This is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the full knowledge of the truth. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, would you join this community? I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And please hit that thumbs up button. You know, when you like this video, it'll get pushed out to more people and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.